What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats of every one of the weapons in CoD World War II. In today's episode, we're finally going to be covering the M1 Garand. First up, as always, let's have a look at a couple real-life stats. The M1 Garand is a classic American semi-automatic rifle, and it fires a 30-06 Springfield, which packs a bit of a punch, and therefore the practical rate of fire would be roughly 50 rounds per minute. When we get into Call of Duty World War II, we get a damage profile of 60, 55, 49, which means it's always going to be 2 to 3 shots to kill in core modes, and always a one-shot kill in hardcore modes. Our rate of fire cap is set at 324 rounds per minute, and with rapid fire we can bump that up to 345 rounds per minute. Our statistical minimum time to kill is among the fastest in the game at 185 milliseconds within the 2-shot kill range, and then when you get into the 3-shot kill range, or if you happen to miss a shot, it drops off pretty steeply down to 370 milliseconds. The only guns in this game, aside from shotguns and sniper rifles, that have a faster time to kill than the M1 Garand are going to be the MP40 at point blank ranges. It has that very short 3-shot kill range, as well as the Waffen 28 within the 4-shot kill range, which is also relatively short, especially compared to the 2-shot kill range of the M1 Garand, which we're going to look at in a little bit. So time to kill wise, the M1 Garand absolutely dominates, but time to kill isn't everything. Let's move on to headshots. Without high caliber, we get a 1.1 times headshot multiplier, and what this means is within your regular 2-shot kill range, which is going to be the majority of your gunfights, headshots won't be reducing the number of shots it takes to kill. When you get into the 3-shot kill range, however, 1 shot to the body and 1 shot to the head will end up being a kill. As for high caliber, that gives us a 1.5 times multiplier, which gives us pretty impressive damage numbers at 90, 82, 73. However, on a full health enemy, this isn't going to be reducing the number of shots it takes to kill with headshots, and therefore high caliber is practically useless on the M1 Garand. Moving on to our ranges, as you can see here, the M1 Garand has a very impressive 2-shot kill range at 51 meters, and this means that most of your gunfights are going to be within that 2-shot kill range unless you're trying to challenge people across the map. If you wanted to extend this 2-shot kill range even more, you can actually double it with advanced rifling, and that'll give you a 100 meter 2-shot kill range. As for hardcore, like I said earlier, unless you're shooting through something, this gun will always be a 1-shot kill. Moving on to hipfire, the M1 Garand is a little bit below average for the rifle category, but it's definitely not the worst in the rifle category as well. It's right in line with the STG-44. As for idle sway, the M1 Garand has very little idle sway. This is generally not going to be affecting your shot at all. Getting into recoil on the other hand, the M1 Garand actually has a decent amount of vertical recoil, but there's really no side-to-side sway with this, so it's extremely predictable, and generally you just have to either pull down on your left analog stick, or just start by aiming low so your first shot hits low, and then your second shot hits him in the chest or head. Moving on to our capacity, we get a clip size of 8 rounds with 24 in reserve, and with extended clip we can increase this to 12 rounds with 36 in reserve. This clip size is something that definitely holds this gun back. However, we have the fastest reload add time in the rifle category. Keep in mind, reload add time is the amount of time it takes to reload without any unnecessary animations. This is just 1.24 seconds. So you can reload that clip really quickly. Moving on to our handling and mobility stats, our aim down sight time is standard for the rifle category at 250 milliseconds, and same thing goes with our sprint out time. This is also standard at 250 milliseconds. Our movement speed is 95%, and our aim down sight strafe speed is 40%. Both of these numbers are also standard for the rifles. Getting into my preferred attachments for the M1 Garand, definitely extended clip. This is an area where the M1 Garand doesn't really do too well because realistically speaking, you're generally only going to be able to kill 2 people per clip without extended clip. Therefore, to make it a bit more versatile, I highly recommend extended clip if you have it unlocked. Another thing that I don't normally recommend, but I am going to recommend it here on the M1 Garand after doing several tests side by side with just the first 2 shots, this is the grip attachment. If you're firing it as fast as possible and you're firing a full clip, you won't really notice too much difference between having a grip and not having a grip. However, if you're just firing 2 shots as fast as possible, I did the test side by side here, it appears the grip attachment is definitely helping between your first and second shots, and these are the most important shots to be firing with this gun, and I find having a grip on there just makes for much more consistent 2-shot kills. Next up, I often like using a reflex sight with the M1 Garand. I feel like the standard iron sights are a little bit obstructive, and therefore I just like having that reflex sight on there, especially because this is a real precision weapon and you want to make sure you're hitting every single one of your shots. You don't want to be missing a shot because you can't quite see your target fully. And finally, quick draw I feel like is always a great attachment, even though it doesn't do a ton for the rifle category. That extra 30 or so milliseconds that you gain from having quick draw can often make the difference between life and death. Moving on to a couple example classes I have for the M1 Garand, I'm always using the infantry division with this rifle. I just feel like this gun really needs as many attachments as possible, and I also like the fact that you can strafe faster with the infantry division, and therefore I never even consider running anything else with the M1 Garand. With this first setup, we have quick draw, extended mags, and reflex sight with the hunker basic training skill, and this one's designed to be a bit more on the aggressive side. So I don't have the grip on there, instead I have quick draw so I can snap onto targets a little bit faster, I can take that nade damage and stuff so I can be on the objective, and this is definitely my preferred setup to use with the M1 Garand. However, I do have one variation of this that I use sometimes when I feel like I'm not going to run into many explosives, and this is with the primed basic training skill. And with that extra attachment that primed gives us, I pop on the grip. That just allows me to be a bit more accurate, I can challenge people a bit better at those longer ranges, and be a lot more comfortable in my 2-shot kills. For our secondary, on both of these classes we have the 9mm SAP with extended mags, and our lethal is a sticky grenade. So overall, the M1 Garand is a very dominant weapon when it comes to time to kill, however, it's not very versatile and it's also quite unforgiving. In the right hands, this gun is an absolute beast and basically nothing will be able to compete with you. In the wrong hands though, this gun is quite difficult to use. If you miss even just one shot, the time to kill is extremely unforgiving and therefore your time to kill just plummets. And a lot of people are going to have a hard time handling this weapon. So with that, we're going to wrap up today's video, and I'd like to know in the comment section below, what do you guys think of the M1 Garand? Do you feel like it's way too powerful with that super fast time to kill? Or do you feel like it's balanced out nicely by the fact that it isn't very forgiving and it's also not very versatile? In addition to that, I'd like to know in the comment section below, which one of the weapons would you like me to cover next for this series? And keep in mind, I've covered a lot of the weapons already. I just recently covered all of the pistols, so if you guys missed that episode, I will leave a link to the playlist down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.